back and remind ourselves what happened in the Monte just a couple of weeks ago. As the curtain opened on the 26th championship, we all assumed business as usual, with Seb Ogier heading for his 11th win. But out of the blocks, it was another Toyota driver who would lead the pack going into day 2. The young gun, with a WRC win to his name already, set the timesheets alive. Oliver Solberg taking an impressive 44-second lead. Day 1 had proved challenging for others in the opening miles. Ogier struggled in the tricky conditions but still held third. New signing Jon Armstrong got caught out on stage 2 with a slight off, but he survived the night. Stage 3 was ultimately cancelled due to the thick fog, Mo nearly going off through zero visibility. Day 2 started strong for Evans, but for Neville, he slipped and slid in the icy conditions. The normally dominating Ogier didn't seem to appear in these mixed conditions at all. Solberg continued to impress though, extending his lead to 1 minute 4 by the lunchtime halt. The afternoon brought disaster to Katsuta. Losing the power steering after an off, he had to fight the car through the rest of the day, Aaron lending a hand on the handbrake where needed. Mo was another to lose his handbrake, his through parts failure, the pair losing time in the afternoon. Josh McErlean went off and parked the Puma in a ditch. Neuville and Vidaga also fell into a ditch that they couldn't get out of. Solberg continued to lead after day 2. Classic Monte conditions brought lots of snow and ice, making a tough event that much harder. Evans and Ogier put on a bit of a charge, but Solberg managed to extend his lead once again. Saturday afternoon was to change the playbook. Hayari was caught out slipping into a ditch on the first afternoon stage, the resulting snow blocking his view, and he drove into a tree, ending the day for him. Returning Hayden Padden had done okay, but on stage 12 he understeered off the road and down the hillside. All looked lost until the spectator army proved just why they're the best in the world, pushing the car back up and onto the road. Time lost, but he carried on. Solberg wouldn't get away with it either. Dropping a wheel off the edge of the road, he lost his line and speared into the opposing ditch. The quick-thinking Swede planted the throttle low to drive through the fence and into the field, where he spun it around to drive it back out. While he lost time, Solberg went on to still win the stage by 2 seconds. The return of the Monaco GP street stage proved too slippy for most, the cobbles catching most people out in the donut section. Day 4 was to be a big day for the rally leader, facing down a historic moment. Solberg lost some time losing the car on a couple of corners, but continued carefully. Armstrong's dream start all came to an end on 15 when he understeered into the Armco, destroying the front left corner of the car. The disappointment compounded as his teammate McErlean also went off in the same stage. Solberg though had everything under control. With a healthy lead, he brought the car home to become the youngest ever winner of this historic event. Neuville had another half spin. Evans aimed to bag power stage points, but it was perhaps Ogier who was the most disappointed, coming home in 3rd place. Hi Gary, how are you, mate?
Good, I'm good, despite the weather.
Yeah, it's nasty out there at the moment. It's much better to stay inside and listen to a podcast or something.
Definitely.
How did you find Monte? Did you enjoy it?
It's funny that you just mentioned the weather, and I think last week the weather in Monte Carlo was absolutely excellent. The snow, the ice, the fog, the lunatic spectators lighting flares in fog, I thought was genius.
Yeah.
And wow. Just wow.
It was perfect Monte weather. Absolute perfect conditions to kick off the 26th season. I wasn't expecting such a start to the event. Quite a bit to talk about though. Where do you fancy starting?
I think for me, you can split it up into 3 sections. The first one is Rally 1. What was happening at the pointy end of the rally, where we expected it to happen? I think the road conditions and the weather really did create a level playing field. It wasn't dry tarmac, which a lot of people have got experience of. It created conditions which were changeable in the extreme, which to me, the cream rises to the top. The guys who can deal with everything. Wet tarmac, dryish tarmac, ice, slush, changing from corner to corner, kilometre to kilometre. I think it showed that Toyota are the team to beat. They have undoubtedly got the best car and the best drivers. And I don't think that's going to change in the foreseeable future. That's the first thing I'd take from it. What do you reckon?
Well, yeah, I do agree. However, our most expected driver that we always say can deal with anything in any circumstance on any event was Seb. And he was actually one of the ones that was struggling the most. He blamed his tyres a lot, but essentially he had the same tyres on the same car as Solberg did, and he still didn't do as well. So
yeah, that outburst from Seb really surprised me. And I thought he was a bit more mature and level-headed than that, and it really did sound a bit petulant. You haven't given me the correct tyres for me to do my job. And I'm thinking, well, everybody else has got the same kit as you. They've managed to extract some performance from it. And especially when you're in a team with 3 or 4 other guys, it isn't as if you're a one-man team and you've got nothing to benchmark it against. The other guys did all right. So I'm quite surprised about that. And saying all sorts. But I'd love to know, was it the tyres? A lot of the drivers mentioned feel for the car. And I don't think us mere mortals understand this feel thing we mention is something we'll never experience.
To try and explain it a little bit, if you're driving in snow in your ordinary road car and you're driving down a country lane and all of a sudden you hit a little bit of slush, that feeling you get when your steering goes light, that's what they're talking about when they're talking about feel. Now, if you imagine if you take that up to the limit where you're pushing 120k, maybe more, that feel is on a knife edge. And a lot of it is down to tyres, yes, but a lot of it is also setup. And one thing that still strikes me, and this was the same in Estonia as it was in Monte, that Solberg is running pretty standard setup at this point. He's running what Toyota are giving him because he doesn't have that extra experience to set it up any way he wants to. Unlike Seb Ogier, who's obviously been in the team for quite a while. So I'm guessing it was his setup that was the problem, mixed with the tyres, that was causing the issues, rather than the tyres per se themselves. Because like we've said, everybody's on the same tyre. There aren't any differences. Okay, yes, you might have studs, you might have winters, you might have super softs. And that is your choice. But essentially, you've all got the same choice. And I think a lot of it is down to setup. And perhaps he was running it too hard. Maybe the car was just too stiff. Maybe it just wasn't talking to him like it usually does. I'd say that was probably the case rather than any particular issue with the tyre. We didn't hear anything else with anybody. I don't remember hearing anybody else complain too much about the tyres, aside from the obvious conditions. So that's my feeling on it.
That's Toyota then. Hyundai, I think the biggest thing for Hyundai for me is, why did they pick Padden to drive in Monte Carlo? I'm not blaming Padden for a second. Why did they pick him? They've got, what's the guy? I can never remember his name.
Esa-Pekka Lappi?
Yep.
EP.
There's a clue in his name there that you think he might have a little bit more experience of driving in wintry conditions. And I think the classic from the whole of the weekend, from Padden, when he was all over the place, at end of one of the stages, quote, "I have no idea how to drive it." Now, I'm not blaming Padden. I'm blaming somebody for putting Padden into maybe a rally which wasn't ideally suited to his experience. I know he's been around a long time. He's driven a lot of rallies. He's driven in Sweden. He's driven in Monte before. But it just struck me, maybe with hindsight, as a weird choice.
Potentially. AP is on the entry list for Sweden. I've noticed.
He is.
So he's probably always been placed for that one. Previous years of the Monte have just been dry tarmac. That might have played into their choice. And I don't think Danny Sordo's probably the best out of the three for that kind of event either. I think all three of them are going to be in the same position when it comes to that Rally 1 Hyundai, because none of them have driven it. Yeah, all right. As I said on the last episode of the podcast, it is somewhat the same car, but it's been quite a few years. And I'm going to go back on what I said before and actually give them a little bit of credit and go, well, actually, no, they might be quite different. In hindsight, I've got to say, I think Hayden did a pretty good job.
I'm not blaming him personally. It's the team. I can't understand why the team selected him. That's my point, not his performance per se, because he was put into a difficult position.
Given he was chosen first, I think he did a pretty good job. Yes, obviously he went off a couple of times. He had a couple of moments, and obviously dropping it down that hillside didn't help his rally. Actually, can we just give a shout out to each and every one of those spectators who lent a hand? That really does show the world how great rally spectators are.
Yeah.
Absolute stellar job to get that car back up that hill. So well played, each and every one of you. I'm well impressed. I was very excited when I saw that live. It's like, come on, lads, come on. God, if anybody could have seen me. Moving on then, can we talk about Ford? Should we talk about Ford next?
M Sport, I think it's Black Armband's job. I can't, I'm sure the numbers are out there somewhere. When did M Sport last have a complete non-finish for their team? Because for years they had the thing about point scoring in every rally going back to God knows when. And I would love to know how long it is since the factory Ford team failed to have a car finish.
I want to say 2008. I'm going to put it up right there now when I find out. But I think it's about 2008-ish.
Ish.
I think
cover all your bases there.
Plus or minus a year or two. I think it's 2008. I did hear that recently, but I'd forgotten myself. So, aside from the obvious disappointment of both cars crashing out on the last day, I actually was very impressed with both drivers.
I was.
Yeah.
I expected John McErlean. I expected a bit more from him, having a full year's of experience. And I think to the casual observer, you'd have thought it'd have been the other way around. Because Jon Armstrong, I was deeply impressed. And was it him where there was that bit of in-car footage of him laughing towards the end of a stage?
Yeah, one of the sketchy stages, it was around 12-ish. I think it was Saturday morning. It was like full of slush ice. It was horrendous conditions, and they got to the end and they were just giggling. Typical rally drivers.
Yeah, but I love that though. Some of these guys appear to have this modern managed sports personality of absolutely no character and charisma at all. And to see these two guys in their first rally, driving along, laughing, I absolutely loved it. You're thinking, yeah, I can relate to these guys. Not some guy with a deadpan at the end of the stage.
Yeah, it was so much better to see them enjoy themselves. I mean, fair play, I've watched a lot of Irish rally drivers and they're all fairly similar. They're all just in it for the laughs. But it was his pace and his, I don't want to use the word maturity because it just sounds condescending, but he drove a rally as if he'd had 5-10 years experience, the way he drove it. Yes, I know he understeered off into the Armco, but that could have literally happened to any of them. To be consistently up on or around the podium. I mean, at one point he was third, which on your first event is amazing. And if we think back to where he started in, I think it was Novas and Fiestas on his farm. And I know he obviously then bought a Fiesta and started entering like junior Fiestas. So he's always been in the Ford. So he's quite happy. And to go from that through this sim stage up into a Rally 1 pretty quickly, I would add. You know, it was only last year that he got put up to a full R5 for the ERC championship. And he's raced through the classes in ERC as well. So to get into a Rally 1 on your very first event and pull out a fairly consistent third, fourth, well done. I'm very, very impressed. And if that continues throughout the year, maybe, just maybe, Ford might have a bit of a better year.
I've actually written down here, is Jon Armstrong the real deal and our next hero?
I think so. Yeah. And I think Josh has to really look over his shoulder because he's not that far behind.
I think the third Ford driver, Mr. Munster, I saw the most ridiculous comments online after the event, which he also failed to finish. He's one-off drive in the Puma. And what does he spout out at the end of the rally? I use it as a shop window to Hyundai.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, well, you ungrateful sod, off you go. Goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, he was entering as a private drive. It wasn't an M-Sport drive. It was Cedridis that paid for it. And to then talk about trying to get a Hyundai drive, I mean, I saw an article that basically said that he thinks he would be a good fit for the team because he could score manufacturer points, which, can you? The other thing is they don't need him. They've got 3 of those already banked for this year, and there's not necessarily any reason why they can't carry on into next year. So,
and if you want a point scorer, you're looking further down the talent table there. That's almost admitting you're not the real deal. If he said he wants to be a full championship, you're thinking, this guy, I'm a solid point scorer. Okay? Join that queue over there.
Plus, you're looking at a team literally with 3 banker drivers. So why even bother? It didn't make sense.
Yeah.
You have basically kicked M-Sport in the teeth for everything that they've done for you over the course of your career, basically. It was M-Sport that brought you from ERC into the WRC.
To use modern parlance, if you've got a driver who's obviously good, like Fomo, and he wants to get on, Ford didn't have the money, he went somewhere where he could get his drive. I don't think anybody's got a massive problem with that on the face of it. But when you've got somebody who behaves how Munster did, or allegedly did, I just don't, it doesn't sit well with me. The Rally 2 Lances actually did what we all hoped they would do. They were competitive. They were up there. They were setting overall top 10 times. And no, it was a Mickey Mouse topsy-turvy rally, but they did it. They were second on 2 of the stages, or one of the stages.
Were they leading at one point? I thought they were leading at one point.
I don't think they didn't win a stage. They finished second on a couple of stages, I think. And overall, they finished 6th and 9th. Fantastic. They're in the top 10 overall.
Yeah. I think the cars look great out on the stages, and the performance again was really good. I think it bodes well for the year.
People say it's got a lot of Citroen and Peugeot underneath. Fine, whatever. But it's a new team, it's a new brand, and I just think it's good news, and long may it continue. The other thing which I absolutely loved, not only was it the Lanciers, it was a whole of Rally 2. They were 6th, 8th, 9th, and 10th overall, which for next year, when Rally 2 and WRC 27 are ruling the roost, I think that is excellent news. But the massive thing for me, the takeaway of it all, right down the bottom of the entry list, you see this thing, WRC 3 cars. Mr. Fontana won 2 stages in a WRC 3 car on the Saturday morning. And that, to me, is just brilliant. I think for years, you've had the top 10 cars, the works cars, just win everything. Win all the stages, they win the rally. And I think to see Rally 2 cars, 40% of the top 10, and a WRC 3 car winning stages. Hey!
Yeah, it was nuts. It was nuts, but it was a perfect sort of condition for that sort of thing to happen.
So it puts those years' tyre complaints into perspective, though, doesn't it?
It does. This Friday sees the return of one of the WRC's most popular events. As the second round of the season This is a rally of contradictions, a surface of ice and snow that paradoxically provides some of the highest average speeds in the WRC. For 2026, the challenge has been refreshed with 18 special stages covering 300 kilometres, including the reversal of classic tests to keep even the most seasoned crews on their toes. The event kicks off with a high-profile shakedown right on the Uma River Boulevard in the city centre, bringing the thunder of Rally 1 engines to the doorsteps of the fans. From the towering snowbanks of the remote north to the stadium atmosphere of the Red Barn Arena, Rally Sweden remains the ultimate test of high-speed commitment in a frozen wilderness.
And now we're off to Sweden, where we don't know about snow. For the next 7 days, they are going to have a high of -9 and a low of -20.
Damn.
So
I mean, that's probably too cold for snow.
So whether there's any snow on the ground or what, I don't know. But it is going to be cold. That at least means it's not going to be a wet, sloppy, mud gravel rally. So I think we're in for a proper Swedish rally by the looks of it. I think the entry list makes interesting reading. We've got the same number of Hyundais and Fords, but we've got different drivers, and we've got an extra Toyota.
Well, I know Martins is coming to do his first event of the year. That'd be nice to see him back out again.
He's got 7 rounds this year, so hopefully this is your first of 7. Sweden, Portugal, Greece, Estonia. It's a bit of a dark horse. Toyota have got 5 cars. They've got the 4 normal works drivers. No surprises there. And the wild card is one Mr. Bertelli. He's actually entered over 60 WRC rallies over the years.
So he's got some experience then.
He's only done 10 in the last 8 years, though, and for some reason he seems to pick Sweden. So he must like it.
I guess he must do. So what are we expecting for Sweden then? Because we were wrong. We said, I think if I remember rightly, we both agreed on our top 3 for Monte. We said Seb to win it, Evans in second, and a wildcard Solberg third. So we were kind of right, but we weren't in the right order. What do you reckon we're looking at for Sweden?
Right. I've rolled the dice. I've had the crystal ball out. And my top 3 is Evans to win it.
Okay.
Got a lot of experience. He's won it twice before. He knows how to win there. He's had a lot of decent results there. So, and I think he's got the experience and to keep it level-headed, to be quick enough to be able to win, but not get carried away. In second, I've got Solberg. It's his home rally. He has won it for the last 3 years in WRC2. He knows what he's doing. I just think he might just get a combination of youthfulness, you're at home, you've just won the Monte, and just get a bit giddy, carried away, a bit of pull off a win, because he's going to have been a snowbank because he was 3 minutes ahead and he was trying to drive flat out everywhere. But he'll get it to the end, but that's why I've got him in second. In third, I've got Sex.
Okay.
I'm throwing him in there. He proved that in Saudi last year. He was leading, or he was in second. He was doing really well. And he's got a point to prove, and I think he's got the skill. So he's my wild card for a third place. If you're wondering where Ogier is a DNF. He's not going to finish. He's going to bin it.
Really?
Yep, he's going to bin it.
That's a bold prediction.
He hasn't got that good a Swedish record. If my research is right, he last drove it in 2020. He hasn't been going to Sweden. Then he was 4th. Having said that, he has won it 3 times. But his last victory was 2016, 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's a while back.
It's a while back. I think he's all going to be all revved up after Monte Carlo, tyres, snow, setup. I'm not winning. They're all winning. I'm not going fast enough. They're going faster. I don't know. I just think he's going to bin it.
Okay. That's brave. Okay. I'm going to go. I mean, I'm impressed that you've got Martin Sesk's in there for third. I don't think he'll get there. I think my top three, I will go, and this is based purely on his past two performances. I'm going to go Solberg to win again.
Okay.
As we've said, it's his home rally. He's very comfortable in that Toyota. I don't think necessarily being first on the road is going to be an issue for him. And in fact, it'll probably help him being first on the road in Sweden. I think he can do it, and I'll be rooting for him. So I'm going to go Solberg first. I'm going to go Seb second, because he's got longer studs this time than in Monte. So effectively, it's a different tyre. I think he'll be okay. I think he'll get into a rhythm pretty early on. It's going to be a close call between Seb and Solberg, I think. But I think Oliver will just nudge it out. And third, I would love to put Elvin in third, but I think he's too far up. He's second on the road, isn't he, Elvin? So
he's second in the championship, so presumably he'll be second.
Yeah, so it'll be second on the road. Historically, when he runs at the front of the field on Friday, he's slow. He just isn't making enough of his ordinary Friday. Obviously, he did pretty well in the Monte, but that was fresh slate. Now we're getting into sort of championship positions. I think he's probably going to struggle comparative to Seb. And I reckon Adrian Former will be third. Because I think he's actually got the edge on Thierry. And Thierry's been having some horrendous luck of late as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if something else breaks, or he gets another 14 punctures, or something happens. So I think Adrian has had such a better run of it last year in that Hyundai. And again in Monte, aside from his handbrake failing, his actual performance was pretty spot on. So I'm going to go Adrian Formeau in third. So Solberg first, Ogier second, and Adrian Formeau third.
Very, very different. This should be interesting to tell. Very interesting. The one thing which does stick out amongst the Rally 2 entries, you start looking down it, and Skoda, the odd Citroen, dozens of Toyotas. There are only 2 Fiesta WRCs entered. Both of those are M Sport entries. Nobody else is using Fiestas. Have a look back at Monte Carlo. There didn't appear to be a lot of Rally 2 Fiestas there. Now that, to me, thinking forwards, doesn't look good for next year.
The way things are at the moment, the Fiesta comparative to the Skoda or the Toyota is a very, very old car, and it is out of date. They have, however, been putting a lot of money and effort into developing that car and bringing some new updates. Jon Armstrong had a few for his ERC championship, and it is something that they are working on. Now, whether it's just the fact of they haven't got those packages out or not, I don't know, or it could just well be, as you say, favour exchange for something newer.
I think the scary thing is, all the Rally 2 guys, these are people who somehow, they are all customer cars. These are people who've all gone out and spent money buying their cars. Now, I would have thought if you're already in round 2 of the WRC, doing WRC 2, you aren't going to be changing car mid-season. You're not going to change. No. You might change. You might buy a newer one of what you've got, but I can't see that anybody is going to sell their Toyota Yaris GR and buy a Fiesta. That's unless these upgrades prove to be something absolutely fantastic. It's just, people voted with their feet.
I guess it's down to M Sport and their Rally 2 drivers to basically showcase whatever it is that they're going to bring to the table. If it turns out that it's an absolute stellar car, they might start buying it back again. I mean, there's plenty of them. I don't think it's going to happen this year. They've got what they've got, and that's what they're running. failing a massive breakdown or, a fire or something. I think what we've got is what we've got. Next year, though, who knows?
Have you heard? I haven't been able to find out anymore. There was some spokesperson has said they've had a lot of interest in WRC 27 with 10 tuners showing interest. He hasn't named anything. It's not definitely 10. Even Malcolm Wilson has apparently said it's good news, but it's heading in the right direction. And I don't think all 10 will come to fruition.
Probably not.
Probably not. It's one thing inquiring about something. It's another thing actually getting the welding gear out and start constructing something. I just find it, I'm just still intrigued as to how next season is going to develop.
I assume there's a process, and this is probably the first step in that process, in getting a team together as a tuner in order to get yourself into WRC 27. It might even be 28. They might be looking a little bit further down the line, especially if they're starting from scratch. So we shall see. I'm hoping it does. I'm hoping it brings some more teams. There certainly won't be any brands, I don't think, that will come in at this stage. There has been some interesting things happen of late in the wider WRC, what with the American candidate event happening and the FIA going to see that. There's been lots of talk recently about the WRC going back to America. And then in other areas, there's been talk about other elements of the WRC's future. Malcolm Wilson has said that he's doing a few things as well that's looking promising.
Apart from finding a promoter.
No. I've actually seen he's close. So that was what I saw, actually. He was talking about the WRC promoter and it being close to happening. It won't be this year. I think it's for next year, but it's something that he's working on and that he's quite happy as to where it is at the moment in terms of its place in the process.
I read the press release as well, and it was a masterpiece of waffle. I like Malcolm Wilson, but it was a masterpiece of diplomatic waffle. We're going through the process. We've got to make sure we've got it right. All of that you knew from day one. You knew you had to get it right on day one. You knew you had to do that.
Not a lot of action.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of high-power Zoom meetings going on places. Or is there anything happening at all? I don't know. Like you sort of said, I can't see them changing promoter mid-season. I don't know how that works. Contractually, there's all sorts of things going on here. The ideal time, I would imagine, to change a promoter is to start with a new season.
I think it's a good time to leave it there. Just before we go, you can find all our socials if you search at TMF Pod 23. That's across all platforms, including TikTok and YouTube. And our brand new website is also live at www.themotorsportfiles.com. That's pretty much it for us for this episode. See you on the next one.